Dragon's Dogma originally released back in 2012 and it quickly became one of my favorite titles, with a fun twist on traditional online play as well as satisfying combat mechanics. Since then I've been hard pressed to find a game that lived up to the initial awe I felt when I picked up the title. But with Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen being ported to PC, I eagerly awaited a chance to jump back into the world of Grancis and see just how well the game had aged. The story starts off like most traditional fantasy RPGs. A big bad monster attacks your poor defenseless village, and you're one of the few brave enough to stand up to it. In most cases, this would be the part where you defeat, or at the very least hold your own against a powerful monster, and are thus revealed to be the child of prophecy. Not in Dragon's Dogma. Instead, it makes a point to show just how insignificant your character really is. Your blows do nothing to affect the dragon, and one fell swoop from him has your heart devoured. Amused by your apparent will to live, the dragon issues a challenge. Grow stronger and win back your heart. From here, we're set loose to explore the world of Grancis. Quickly after setting foot outside your home, you're introduced to the pawn system. It's a unique take on the traditional party mechanics found in most RPGs. Rather than travel the world and find unique characters meant to accompany your hero, players are instead introduced to the Pawn Legion. It's a collection of individuals that lack free will. Almost like a type of homunculus, the pawns exist only to follow and protect your character. As a result, players can create their own initial companion from scratch, dictating everything from gender to vocation, allowing players to create someone who complements their own playstyle. As the game progresses, players can further customize their own pawn's playstyle, from assigning them new abilities to modifying their personalities. Maybe you want a pawn that attacks small monsters nearby, leaving an opening for you to tackle the bigger threats. Or maybe you prefer to have a pawn that focuses on healing and providing support. Whatever the task at hand, your pawn's behavior can usually be taught accordingly and adjusted. This plays a role later on when it comes to the way Dragon's Dogma handles its online component. When playing online, your pawn is available for other players to hire in their game, and vice versa. The skills and weapons you've provided them will assist them in another world, and while there, they may even learn new information about threats you have yet to encounter in your game. It's an interesting system to say the least, giving players a bit of freedom when it comes to customizing a party and preparing for different encounters. And it's these encounters that provide the most enjoyment for me in Dragon's Dogma. When asked to describe the combat, it's hard to do so without citing games like Shadow of the Colossus or even Monster Hunter, with Dragon's Dogma resting somewhere in between. Players are presented with a climbing and grappling mechanic that allows for some really interesting combat tactics. Picking up a smaller enemy and throwing them off a cliff is just as useful as climbing on the back of a cyclops to stab it in the eye. But along with that, we're also presented with a variety of creatures that constantly adapt and counter your skills. Stay on the back of the cyclops for too long, he may eventually grab and pull you off. Spend too much time messing with the Hydra and don't be surprised if it swallows you whole. As a result, you're treated to a combat system where the battles always feel organic and each encounter holds a certain degree of weight. There's something oddly satisfying about landing that shot on a griffin's wings and see it come crashing down. And it's these moments where the combat in Dragon's Dogma truly shines. Another aspect of Dragon's Dogma I found compelling, and what I really want to focus on, is the distinct lack of a conventional fast travel system. Rather than allow players to travel to any location they want, the game intentionally limits their ability to do so. Players have to find port crystals to place throughout the world, which serves as a sort of homing beacon, allowing the players to then port to that specific area with the use of a fairy stone. The amount of port crystals that can be placed, however, is limited, making players take careful consideration when it comes to placing them. While it may seem limiting at first, port crystals can always be picked up and moved to a different location after the fact. In turn, this allows players to create their own custom nexus, letting them pick their own personal destinations and points of departure for their different adventures. While I found it immersive, it's become a point of contention for a lot of players. Given how ubiquitous the fast travel system has become in gaming, the lack thereof in Dragon's Dogma makes it seem as if it was a simple oversight by the developers, or in some cases, very poorly implemented mechanic. While it's true that traveling on foot can seem tedious when you repeat the same journey over and over again, it's these moments where the exploration of Grancis really shines. By forcing players to make those journeys over and over again, the game subtly encourages them to find their own way. After all, how many times can you circle that mountain before you decide to just go right through it? By creating those moments of inconvenience, the game subtly pushes players toward discovery, allowing for moments of great satisfaction when a new path or landmark is discovered. And this sense of exploration comes into fruition when players finally set foot on Bitter Black Isle. Meant to be an expansion area for Dark Arisen, Bitter Black Isle introduces players to a massive underground labyrinth with thousands of twists and turns, new enemies, and more than its fair share of secrets. The Dark Arisen version of the game also brought with it a lot more quality of life improvements. I mentioned previously that fast travel could only be done with the use of fairy stones, but unfortunately in the original release of the game, fairy stones were a very rare commodity and they were a one-time use item. Once a player used one for fast travel, it immediately disappeared from their inventory. While they could still find them around the world, fairy stones were still scarce enough to where fast travel was still an inconvenient and inconsistent matter. Dark Arisen not only introduced vendors which allowed players to purchase them for cheaper, but it also included an Eternal Fairy Stone, an unlimited use item for fast travel. And speaking of fast travel, the system itself has been revamped for Dark Arisen. Port crystals are more plentiful now, players can find more of them throughout their journey, allowing them to be placed in greater locations. And probably the biggest change made is the elimination of microtransactions. In its original console release, players could purchase ref crystal packs from an online store with real money, This gave them access to a currency which could be used at a special rift shop that allowed them to hire stronger pawns, stronger weapons, upgrades, and unique items only available there. Now, rift crystals can be obtained at a higher rate from killing enemies, or even as a reward from having your pawn hired out. And of course, we have the standard technical improvements, with the game now supporting up to 150 frames per second, 4K resolution, and full screen rendering without letterboxing on most widescreen monitors. As a whole, Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen comes off as feeling more complete than when it first launched. In a way, this is the definitive version of the game to play. Of course, that's not to say the game doesn't have its shortcomings. As fresh as the combat feels, sometimes enemies can just become an annoyance. Fighting a pack of goblins, harpies, or even bandits doesn't always hold the same satisfaction as it does when you're fighting a chimera or a hydra. The pacing of the story can also leave players wanting more. While in my opinion Dragon's Dogma has one of the better narrative twists in recent years, players may find themselves simply not caring about the story until its final moments. But despite these complaints, they seem trivial compared to the overall enjoyment I still get when playing the game. Considering its a port from 2012, the game has aged remarkably well. Have you had a chance to play Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen? Let me know in the comments below and hit subscribe for more videos. This has been Enrique with Select Characters. See you next time.